Hi friends, welcome back to Ohio Tropics, and in this video I'm going to show you how to repot Coleus. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of its pot. So I'm just going to squeeze the pot. This is going to be pretty pot bound now. You'll see when I take it out. Just to loosen it up a little bit. Here we go. So nice healthy roots. When you take your plants out of their pots like this and they're really pot bound, you need to loosen up the roots a little bit. If you fail to do so, your plant will not take as quickly and start into new growth as quickly as you would like it because the roots are too compacted. So what I like to do is I loosen up the roots. You don't have to go crazy, but just enough so that the new roots will have an easier time growing into the new soil in your new pot. So let me show you a little bit more closely. So I like to start at the bottom. This is just how I do it. And I'll just, you hear that? Don't worry about breaking some roots. You just want to loosen things up a little bit. So I do the bottom and then I'll do the sides. Don't worry, you are not hurting your plant. You're going to make it easier for your roots to grow into the new soil. And then I'll just tease things a little bit here. And really that's the extent that I do this for. This is really important when your roots are as tightly wound as this one. As far as potting mix goes, I've used a variety of different potting mixes for Coleus outdoors. And today I'm just using a potting mix, a general potting mix just from my local nursery. It looks like they've mixed in some tree bark in here. It's nice and fluffy. I've used Pro Mix in the past with wonderful results. I've also used Miracle Grow. So there's no one magic soil that I really stick with. I just use what I have on hand. Unlike potting mixes indoors, which I almost always amend with some materials like perlite, outdoors I don't worry about that because the conditions are so different. It's your plants grow more vigorously, it's warmer, and there's no concern about the potting mix taking too long to dry out. You can add a little bit of perlite or any other materials in order to loosen it up, but it's not really that necessary outdoors, I find. So this pot that I'm using here, it has about a 10-inch interior diameter. It's about 11 inches tall, and I'm just going to put one plant in here. You have to be careful with Coleus, especially varieties that get really tall, because if you use pots that are too light, they will often blow over, especially if you let them get too dry and the pot is even lighter. So another thing that I like to do is add some Osmocote. This is just a time-release fertilizer that will continually fertilize your plants. Now this is really a good one to get it started, but at the end of this video I'll have a card for another YouTube video where I discuss the care of Coleus and I talk about my fertilizer regimen there. So mix it in nice and well, and then here I have my Coleus that I loosened up the roots, and I'm just gonna place it in the center of the pot and add a little bit more soil to about the same level that it was before, and this plant will do beautifully. Next, I'm just going to give it a nice watering, and if you notice for this plant, it's gotten a little tall. Now this is one single cutting, and this particular variety is actually self-branching. So it was literally one cutting with one stem, and it actually has 3 stems here, and there are more about to grow. But what you can do if you purchase any leggy Coleus, or maybe if you're propagating your own and you have some plants that are a little bit leggy, you can encourage bushiness by trimming them. For this particular one, I may trim it right about here and right about here, and leave, a few leaves under where I cut, and your plant will grow back if you want a nice bushy specimen. But this variety, it's self-branching and it's wonderful. So I'm just gonna go leave it on its own, and it should do just fine because it has already branched out, and it'll continue to do better in this larger pot. Now you may be wondering why I'm showing you this pot here with these chives. I had to dig them up because I was moving my raised bed, so I'm gonna put the chives back in my garden soon. But The past couple years or so, I know a lot of people have asked me, how many plants do you put in a pot? So I actually use this pot, and it is 17.5 inches in diameter, the outer diameter. The inner diameter where you're actually planting is about 15 inches, and it is about 17 inches tall. So I actually planted 3 of these Golden Dreams Coleus in this pot, and the pots were about 3.5 or 4 inches or so. And this is what the result is. Look how big and beautiful it got. And here are some others that I grew, and you can see that the pot on the right is substantially smaller, and it still grew well, but it's not going to get as big as some of the larger pots. If you're still unsure about what pot size to use, don't worry too much. Coleus are pretty forgiving. And also, it depends on how large your Coleus gets. So make sure that you check the tag when you purchase your Coleus to see how large they get, because they come in all sorts of different sizes, from just a few inches tall to plants that are 3 to 4 feet tall. So go ahead and experiment. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time.